your service on the battlefield and beyond. 3 Bravo.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Liam Cogan. This is the 3 Bravo podcast. And today we're going to be doing yet another Veterans Benefits Breakdown. Today we're going to be talking about dependent benefits again. In part 1, we kind of went over some of the key functions of just being a dependent, right? GI Bill transfer, things like that, CHAMPVA. Today I'm going to double tap some of those things, particularly CHAMPVA, but then I'm also going to expound upon a couple other benefits that I think are really awesome and often overlooked, right? The crazy thing about our whole veterans benefits package is that most of these benefits are overlooked by the largest portion of our constituency as veterans. So I'm going to kick it off with what I think is like a really exciting benefit, and then I'm going to go into kind of like some different categories. Those categories generally being benefits that you can access with 100% disability, a medical or a medical retirement. When we talk about veterans benefits at the federal level, there's kind of like a ranking system, generally speaking. This doesn't apply across the board entirely, but there's generally a ranking system where it's like you have retired peoples. So anyone who retired, whether that be medically or regularly retired, you have 100% disabled people, and then you have the rest of the veteran constituency, anyone from 1 to 99% of medical disability. And that's how like the benefits are kind of laid out in packages. And that goes across the board for dependent status as well. And I guess you could really add in veterans who like Gold Star families. So a veteran dies in combat or of an immediate service related injury. That would make that spouse and those dependents, those children, that whole family becomes a Gold Star family. So you can kind of shake it out like that. And to start it off, I want to talk about something that's like generally overlooked. A very cool benefit that can really, I mean, when used in tandem with your personal VRE, your medical disability, and, you know, getting jobs on the side, this can be build you a financial cushion that can really change the game for a lot of folks. So something that we often overlook is, oh, well, I don't need that benefit, or I don't need any extra. I don't need the education. I'm good where I'm at. And that can totally be true. But when you add some of these benefits into what you're doing, build some financial security, make your resume look a little bit better, you have a better leg to stand on, and you're also earning and actively using what you earned, right? So you went into the military probably for a sense of duty, just like a lot of us do, and then you earned a lot of these benefits. It's not like it's not a crutch. It's to give you a leg up, it's like a third leg, mini-me style. So cracking into these is Chapter 35. So the Chapter 35 benefit is basically you're looking at what would be VRE, Veterans Readiness and Employment. So that's, if you are unaware, check out my other YouTube videos, my other podcasts on VRE. But it's basically an extension for those of us who have disability at 10% to 20% of your GI Bill benefit. The difference with VRE is that it's older, and the whole point of VRE is to gain employment. So the same thing with Chapter 35, where it's about gaining employment, whether that be through degrees in school or some kind of certificate course, apprenticeship, degree program, like on the job training. That's kind of what VRE is more tailored towards. And so is Chapter 35. But Chapter 35 is for your spouse or your dependent. So the way you access this benefit is through 100% total and permanent disability, or someone who died because of a service-connected condition. That also means died in combat. If you are a Gold Star family or your veteran spouse is 100% disabled, your spouse and or dependents have access up to 36 months of this education benefit. This is really cool because it also provides that spouse not only with the degree program, certificate, apprenticeship, on-the-job training that they're looking for, but you also get a monthly student stipend. So it's not going to be to the nth degree of BAH, right, where you're getting paid the equivalent BAH of a service member living in that area, but you will be getting kind of like an adjusted version of that, right? So I think the maximum amount is around $1,400. And when you look at that benefit, which can be coupled with, you know, your spouse or the veteran who is disabled, you're looking at this great period in time in which a person can get out. Their spouse has been taking care of either the kids, the household while you've been gone, into essentially your entire military career, or trying to build their career of their own. And you can take this small amount of time to figure out, what do we want to do? You can do some on-the-job training. You can do apprenticeships. You can do certification courses. You can both be taking school. And there's kind of like this companionship mentality that can kind of be born out of it. Like you're working together in the same capacity. I think it's a really cool thing. I think it's an awesome benefit, and a lot of people aren't tracking on it. Very similar to all of the other education benefits for transfer, eligible children to use this benefit must be between the ages of 18 and 26. And while spouses typically have 10 years after the veteran's death or disability determination. So I wouldn't sit on it. And this doesn't count if you went back and got re-rated. So if you get re-rated, that clock sets back to that moment. So for a lot of the people who are coming through with the PACT Act, yes, your time starts now. So if you do have that child, you can transfer that benefit, or if you have a spouse who wants to, you know, kind of better themselves. So I won't belabor the point any longer. You're looking at a benefit for your spouse that is just like VRE. If you're 100% disabled, you have access to this benefit. You also get a yearly school stipend and a monthly BAH stipend. Highly recommend it. The rules are going to apply the same way. If you're going fully online, you will get less of a stipend. So if you go partially remote in like a hybrid degree plan, and you also take a full course load as that college describes it, you have access to the full amount of that BAH. So you and your spouse can earn while you get your degrees, while you're getting out of the military and figuring out what life is all about. So in the same breath, I'm going to move into two different grant programs. When I was getting out, this was really important to me to find some grants that I had access to try to extend schooling and learn what I was entitled to. Funny enough, I didn't know that I had VRE. I didn't know that I could make BAH while I was doing my GI because no one told me. And if they did, I didn't listen, and it's bad on me. But I was looking at grants, and I think a lot of people do as well. So here's one that applies to your dependents. A lot of grant programs are going to directly apply to veterans. However, the National Military Family Association, NMFA, Scholarship for Military Spouses applies to your spouse. This provides a scholarship and grant to military spouse for higher education certificates and licensure programs. So if you want to be an aesthetician, whatever the right way to say esthetician, I think that's it. You can use that benefit for it. So, this grant, I believe, is up to $4,000, aligning with the other grant. And this can also be used to assist with relicensing costs. So you can use this scholarship to continue your education after frequent relocations. It's a really solid way to kind of boost your education credits, especially if you don't have access to Chapter 35. If you're sitting at 90%, 60%, 50%, 40%, you get it. The next grant would be the MyCAA, Military Spouse Career Advancement Account. So this one gives you access to $4,000 of the grant up to, covers tuition and exam fees for approved courses. So it's a little more strict in the verbiage of what it can be used for. But it's generally applying to, career training, pursuing education licenses, certificates, associate degrees, very similar to what we've been talking about. Now, this one is specifically applying to spouses of service members in pay grades E1 to E5, W1 to W2, and O1 to O2. So remember that if you are looking to use this grant as a service member spouse, or if you know a service member spouse who's looking to get more education and can't afford it, please send this to them. Those are your wickets for the MyCAA. Those do not apply to the National Military Family Association, NMFA. And just like any grant, this is a competitive application process. So as you write your application, try to create a great use case of why it should be you who gets this grant. It's not just like a come or take all situation. So next, I want to rehash CHAMPVA. If you didn't catch the last episode of the dependent benefits breakdown, CHAMPVA is your 100% PNT, permanent and total disability, or surviving spouse Gold Star family version of TRICARE. CHAMPVA is great healthcare. Me and my wife use it. What you need to understand with CHAMPVA is that it's not going to cover everything. So the one thing that you're really going to miss out on that people are afraid of with this insurance program, this medical insurance program, is that you won't be funded for specialists, right? So if you need a specialist, something particular happens to your kid or yourself, that's like one of the things that are going to be outside of your scope of reality. So a lot of people will pair CHAMPVA because it is really affordable with another healthcare program where they can get access to specialists. If your spouse is paying into one at work, maybe you pay in for less. It's a really, really personal specific program, right? It's about what you think you're going to need, what you think your family's going to need, and what you have access to, right? So if your spouse is a federal worker and they have access to federal health care at a cheap rate, you might just want to continue on with that and not pay for CHAMPVA. Completely up to you. It covers most medical services, prescription drugs, mental health care and supplies, things like hospital visits and ambulance rides, but it does not cover specialists and some other particular coverages. If you want to find out more, the link is obviously going to be in the description, along with every other link for all of these programs. So moving on to the PCAFC, anachronize all things, or that's not the right word, but make acronyms of all things. The Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. So it provides support stipends and resources to family caregivers. Basically, this will apply to you if you have a veteran parent or a veteran who is younger with an intense disability that is service connected. So the service connection portion of this is paramount. But if you have a service connected disabled family member and they have been almost completely immobilized or need intensive care, you can apply for the Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. This can save you a lot of money. Having a caregiver for your family member is wildly expensive. This program will basically assess them on their service-connected disability and then pay out a monthly stipend based on the level of care they need. There's no guarantee they're going to pay for everything, but they'll help pay for a portion, which is huge. And it also supplies you with health insurance coverage through CHAMPVA. So if you didn't qualify for CHAMPVA before, but let's say you had really messed up back and knees, and now your parents can't walk anymore. They were a veteran, they can't walk anymore. It's directly related to their service. Now they're covered through CHAMPVA for their health care while they're getting this monthly stipend for that higher level of care. You're like funding a caregiver. It also helps you with respite care and counseling and caregiver training and support services. So pretty solid if that's the part of life that you're experiencing right now, which a lot of people will. So we also have special restorative training and special vocational training. So this is for a dependent who has a specific physical or mental disability. So this is actually like applying directly to your dependent as opposed to your veteran. If your dependent has a specific physical or mental disability that is preventing them from pursuing standard educational programs, you can apply for the special restorative training and special vocational training through the VA. And this is going to help you train your dependent, whoever that may be, maybe find financial assistance and kind of get them squared away for what might be a difficult next step in finding employment or really what have you. So going on to the second half of this episode, I want to just go back into and harp on a bunch of survivor benefits. So this is specifically for survivors. Okay, so this is Gold Star family. So if you aren't a Gold Star family and you don't have any likelihood of becoming a Gold Star family in the future, maybe this is where you can cut out. And if you have any questions about any dependent benefits or any of the benefits I brought up, please drop them in the comments. And if you have anyone this applies to, please share this video with them. Knowledge is really power in this theater of human interaction. So understanding what you're entitled to and how you do something about it is really how we change the power curve here for veterans. So going into survivor benefits, and as a Gold Star family, understand this: if you remarry, you will lose all of these benefits. There are some caveats to that in certain benefits. I believe the caveat is if you are 55 years old and your spouse enlisted after, I believe, 2001. If you're older than 55, you can remarry after that. Okay, so you can remarry after 55. It's a personal choice. If you want to remarry because you want to have that wedding with that new person that you've met, just understand you are going to lose all of your Gold Star benefits. So what are these benefits? TRICARE for your children. So when you are a Gold Star family, your spouse has died in the line of combat or because of a 100% service-connected disability, your family and your children have access to TRICARE, which is just bona fide great health care, and it's free. So look into that. Burial benefits with your spouse. So this kind of goes across the board in a lot of ways. You have access to burial benefits if your spouse is in a state cemetery or a national veterans cemetery, military member cemetery. State to state, this changes a tiny, tiny bit, but it's almost standardized. So look into your state. They may have a copay or something like that, but you can be buried with your spouse. Survivor pension. So that's a tax-free monthly payment for low-income families, including dependent children. So if you are a Gold Star family, a lot of this stuff should be brought up to you. If it wasn't, let me know. I want to know what they're bringing up to these Gold Star families. But you have access to a tax-free monthly cash payment for if you are a low-income family. You have state tuition waivers. This is just like a very this is a commonality in all of the United States. Most states will have some sort of tuition waiver for Gold Star families. You can use the VA home loan as the spouse. So the spouse can use that VA home loan. It can also be given to the children of the spouse if the spouse remarries. So if you have remarried, you can give the VA home loan benefit to your children because you will no longer be able to access it. I think that's like a nice way to toss that benefit. You have commissary privileges, so you can continue going to the commissary. You have the Fry Scholarship, the Marine Gunnery Sergeant John David Fry Scholarship, which is a full ride plus monthly housing and supply stipend. So it's just like the GI Bill, and it applies to your dependents and your spouses. You have dependency indemnity compensation. So it's DIC. I've talked about this before. It's a tax-free monthly payment of about $1,500 to Gold Star families. Now, another one that you can look into, and I like this, is the Presidential Memorial Certificate. So if you are a Gold Star family, you can send a request through the VA. I'll provide the link. And request a signed certificate from the president expressing the nation's gratitude for the service of a deceased veteran. So I think it's a really cool thing. You can request a few of them to give to your extended family. It's a very nice thing that the VA does and the president does for our veterans. And then lastly, kind of wrapping up these benefits, you have mental health and bereavement counselors. So therapy is expensive if you weren't tracking with all these like online therapy ads and all that different stuff. You can talk to a VA counselor through your VA vet center, just a vet center or your VA medical centers. And you can go through mental health and bereavement counseling, which is a pretty nice thing to have. Obviously, if you want to use your own therapist or someone you trust, go ahead, do what's right for you. That wraps up the last of our Gold Star benefits. Again, this was part 2 of dependent benefits. So if you're looking for something that you may not have heard, check out part 1. And again, if you didn't check out earlier, if you didn't listen earlier, I want to know what benefits you're hearing about. If you've heard about something that I haven't listed yet, please drop a comment, send me a private message. I want to know what the dependent world is really looking for as far as benefits. I know some people are tracking on them, and some people don't know they exist at all. So let me know what you're looking for, and let me know if this helped. I appreciate it. I'm Liam Kogan. This was the 3 Bravo podcast, Veterans Benefits Breakdown, Dependent Benefits, Part 2. See y'all later.